that, hi and welcome to After the Hype with me as always, Bryan, John, and Ryan.
Hello.
Hello.
Today, if you were not paying attention at the end of last week, we are doing the best of 2015 because I feel at this point it is after the hype of 2015,
Yeah,
if you will.
2015 is over.
Yeah, we're
Thank
done
God.
with it. Yeah. So we're going to do today's episode a little bit different. Instead of having guests on, we had people and friends and fellow podcasters call in and give us their opinion. So instead of sitting here and bitch about things they don't actually know or care about,
Right.
we just got them to talk about the things that they really love, and it's going to kind of turn out into something I think will be a little fun.
Yeah, we got experts today.
But the one person who was not able to call in was our board game expert. So we're going to start with board games, which I know is something we don't really ever talk about on an episode, but when we talk best of 2015, we're going to try to hit everything that we can.
Yeah.
So I didn't really play any new board games this year, but I did research in games that I wish I had played. But Ryan, did you actually play any new ones this year?
I did. Cryptozoic came out with a Ghostbusters board game, and I followed it. I kickstarted it back in October of 2014. Finally came through in October of 2015, and so worth it. It's a lot of fun. It's tile-based. You build a board, and they, because I'm a Kickstarter backer, they included just dozens of miniature ghosts and monsters and beasts and characters, and I have like 8 different characters to be, including the original 4 Ghostbusters and some from the cartoons. And
The
it's
new
just
female Ghostbusters?
Yeah, the female Ghostbusters.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So the point of the game is you move your pieces around the board, and you can get in the Ecto-1 and drive around if you got to go far. And then everybody has to get their proton beams onto the ghosts, and then somebody has to trap a ghost, and then you have to put it in the Ecto-1 to send it back to the spirit realm. And you have to do all of this before ghosts flood out of these open gates and rule the world.
That sounds really fun,
That's
actually.
an intense board game.
It's really fun.
Huh.
It's along the lines of, I think it's called Last Night on Earth. It's a zombie game where it's kind of similar. You build a
I've heard of that
board,
one.
and you have to like survive and live the night, basically.
And would you say that's the best new board game? Because we have some categories here.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
my favorite board game overall, board game design, or art design of a board game, and best new board game.
So for best new board game that I read that I went, that sounds like a ton of fun, is a game called Broom Service.
Ooh,
Have you guys looked into this thing? It's basically
No.
it's a board game based around making yourself a witch. And like the
Nice.
way that I looked at, like I don't have all the details out in front of me. I'm not just gonna read a website to you, but basically if you look it up, it just sounds like a total fucking blast. And then for best card game that Ryan put on this list, I looked up the Game of Thrones deck building game.
Oh yeah,
And that looks fucking phenomenal. And everything I've read said it's like the best like iteration of Game of Thrones, anything beyond like the books or TV.
yeah, and I know it's by FFG, who does a really great job of all of their buildable card games. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's good.
And deck building games are a blast. Like
I
they're just
agree.
fun.
I have a card game as well. Another Kickstarter, actually. I don't own this one. I didn't kickstart this one, but I did get to play it, and that is Exploding Kittens. Have you guys heard of this?
I've heard of
one?
this, yeah.
It's all animated by the guy from the Oatmeal, the webcomic. And it's a great party game. We played with like 8 people, and you just go around the room. You're kind of playing cards and trying to stack the deck against each other, and hopefully you don't draw an exploding kitten. Or if you do, hopefully you have the diffuse in your hand.
Right.
And one of the best parts about it is for all the original Kickstarter backers, which my buddy was, when you open the game box, it meows at you. And then when you go to buy the game on Amazon, it says in the bottom of the Amazon description, this box, like 99.9% of all boxes, does not meow.
Nice.
I love that they have to say 0.9 now because there are boxes that meow.
Yep.
So as far as like party games go, or like what we had put here, just like best board game, the one that I want to play the most is Codenames.
Haven't heard that one either.
It's a game that basically it's entirely built around a party game. So like you kind of have to come up with a code name for a person, and then as the game goes around, like the party, you kind of have to figure out who the code name is for.
Oh, that's fun.
And it looks like just like a really fun like conversation starter, like especially if like in a room full of people you don't really know, good icebreaker game. And just everything I read about it, like this sounds like a blast. And then if you read like the reviews for it, like across the board 5 stars. Like everyone says it works out really, really well.
It's a really positive thing to be able to force people to be social with each other.
Yeah, and that's what this one looks like. And it's only $20. You can get it fucking anywhere, and it looks like a lot of fun. I'm actually going to pick that one up as soon as possible, as well as actually everyone that I mentioned. They all sound fucking awesome.
me
So,
too.
Yeah, no, there hasn't been a one that I've been like, I will never play that.
yeah, like all these really sounded great.
While we're on the topic of board games, I just want to shout out to Target for actually starting to carry some really fun
Yeah.
indie board games.
I'll listen to a few different podcasts where they'll talk about board games. I'm like, yeah, I'll never be able to see this out in a physical retail store. And I'm
Right.
walking through Target, I'm like, is that?
Yeah,
That's
Ticket to Ride,
Ticket to Ride,
Pandemic,
Ticket to Ride
Exploding
Europe.
Kittens. Yep.
Pandemic. And then I think they even made a version of Pandemic where it's Pandemic Legacy,
Oh,
where
yeah.
that you alter the board forever.
I've heard those are really fun.
Yeah, they did that for Risk as well, where it's like Risk Legacy, and you basically the board changes each game you play.
Right.
And once you've finished the entire campaign, you can never play that game again.
Yeah.
So before we move on here, I want to give a really quick shout out to where if you do want any of these board games, a place that I can almost guarantee will have all of them if you don't go to Target is Geeky Teas in Burbank. If you don't know the place,
they're great.
They're really nice people all over there, and they have a shit ton of board games and a bunch of other cool stuff, including tea, obviously.
Yeah, it's a legitimate place you can go to get like a custom blended bag of tea, and they're all like brilliant geeky names like Groot Root green tea or Mutter's milk.
I'm glad you specified that it was a drinkable thing, because I'm like, oh, a T-shirt.
Yeah,
I would have been so disappointed walking into there. I was like, why is this a consumable product?
They do also have T-shirts. Good
They
news.
do. Yeah, they have a ton of shit there, and they also are a kitten rescue. So I mean, they really have a fuckload of things there. They're a really cool place if you're in the greater LA area.
Make
you
us
should
all
definitely
look bad.
Go see Donna. She's the one that runs the place, and she's great.
All right, so let's move on to what do we say we're doing next? I already forgot.
Let's do video games next.
Let's do video games. Calling. Who do we have calling in, Ryan?
Jeff.
Jeff?
For video games, I had a buddy of mine from Washington, Jeff, call in. He doesn't have a podcast to pimp yet or anything, but he is the biggest game geek I know, and he actually called in with some really great opinions.
All right, guys and girls. I might be varying from the norm here. I'm not going to talk about games like Fallout 4, Metal Gear Solid 5, or Heroes of the Storm. These are games that I sunk countless hours into over 2015, but by no stretch of the imagination would I call them great games. They are adequate games, fun games that consume my life for a period of weeks, but leave no real lasting impact. So I will be, the gaming hipster of the group. Maybe I'll have some company, maybe not. So for my best console game of 2015, I'm sort of cheating here. I don't have anything really great. So I'm going to go with The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, which is on the DS. It was released in 2015, but it is a remake. But The Binding of Isaac is a dungeon crawler. It is a roguelike dungeon crawler where you play, Isaac, where his mother is trying to kill him, and you shoot tears, and everything is procedurally generated. Random fun ensues. There's thousands of different items that can all stack on top of each other, and sometimes you go through a really difficult challenge because your items sucked, and sometimes you just breeze through the 8 different levels of the dungeon, encountering all these demonic enemies, and at the final stage you kill your own mom, but she was trying to kill you, so there may or may not be things after killing your mom, but no spoilers. For best mobile, I'm going to have to go with Shadowmatic. It is fantastically frustrating. Unfortunately, it's only for iOS, so all you Android and Windows Phone users are SOL. But the Shadowmatic game, it gives you a physical object and shines a light on it, and you have to manipulate that object in 3 space in order to create the silhouette of a very known image, like a bunny rabbit. And it gets increasingly hard just very, very quickly. I'm picking it because of its unique nature. Most mobile games are just rehashes of rehashes of rehashes, although it does somewhat offend me in that it gets so incredibly difficult. You must use hints if you don't want to punch yourself in the face while playing the game. And those hints are microtransactions, so I put it down when I ran out of hints, but because of the uniqueness of the game, I'm going to have to put it up there. Bonus points for creativity. Best indie game. Maybe you've heard of it. I hope you've heard of it. If you haven't, go get it now. It's called Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. So this game was actually a hackathon game, so they have a 1 day to write a game. And the theme was virtual reality. So this team came up with the idea of one person wearing an Oculus Rift and looking at a virtual bomb. And the person sitting next to him can't see what the guy in the Rift is looking at because he's wearing a VR headset. So the person sitting next to him has a physical bomb manual. So they have to communicate through actual voice and say, I am seeing a timer with a yellow button, and then the guy flips through the bomb manual and he tries to find something along the lines of a timer and a yellow button, and you got to spin the bomb around and look at serial numbers and parallel ports, and it's just so hectic. It's fun, and it did come out for PC, so you just got to make sure that the person who has the bomb isn't allowed to show the screen to the person who has the bomb manual, which it's bombmanual.com. I'm not sure how that website wasn't already taken. Seems dangerous to browse to, but it's just the Keep Talking manual. But what makes it even greater, not only is this a unique and asymmetrical concept, which these asymmetric games are becoming more and more popular and more awesome, the most fun I've had with Keep Talking is taking two people who have never played it and sitting them down and telling them to play it and just watching them fail. You take pride in their missteps because that's how you fucked up the first time you played that game. So that game is absolutely one of the best games made in 2015, and it was in very strong competition for my best overall, which I'm also sort of cheating because it's also an indie game, and that is The Beginner's Guide. So The Beginner's Guide is the spiritual successor. It's just made by the same game developer as the Stanley Parable. And the Stanley Parable, if you haven't played, you should. It's a narrative-based game. All you can do is move forward and jump. And when you go through, you come into a room, the narrator says, Stanley walks through the right door, and then you go through the left door, and Stanley wasn't very good at following instructions. So that's an example of how the Stanley Parable worked, and it's largely how the Beginner's Guide worked as well. But the Beginner's Guide, make no mistake, wasn't about defying the narrator like the Stanley Parable was. The Beginner's Guide, and is also very appropriate for this podcast and you movie buffs, because the Beginner's Guide plays like a movie that is entirely linear, but it is an exploration through game environments of a game designer who is struggling with depression. So you go into an environment that has all these disparate things around, and the narrator is telling you what was happening in that game developer, not his own, but his friend who is a game developer, what was going on in his point, that point in his life when he made this game. So you just go from game to game to game, or one game you're literally doing chores around a house, and one game you're just constantly falling, and another game you're stuck in prison. And it just tells this amazing narrative and brings awareness to people who struggle with depression and what that could be like from in a very artistic way. And I think that game had the best and strongest message, and was one of the more, maybe even the most interesting game I played in 2015. So that's why I would give that best overall.
All right. Well, thank you very much to Jeff. That was a whole bunch of stuff that I most definitely did not play this year.
I know. That's why we did this, because I knew we would get some fresh people on, and I would love to have Jeff actually call in for an episode sometime, like we had Trey last week.
All right, well, let's move on to our picks of this year. So we're going to start at the bottom of our list that we sent out to ourselves, not to anyone listening, and then we'll move up to the top. So we're going to start with best indie game this year. I'll go first for what I thought was the best indie game. I didn't really play that much of it, but was Everyone's Gone to Rapture.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was an interesting idea for a game of basically just like you find out a story by basically walking around. It was a cool idea. I got bored with it rather quickly, but I think the idea and the concept of it for people who are into that sort of thing is worth mentioning enough to where I thought it was actually probably one of the best of the year. Mm-hmm. Just not necessarily my cup of tea, but I still thought it speaks volumes to it, where if even me who's not a fan goes, that's still really well made, though.
Yeah. No, there's kind of an emergence of what some gamers will deridedly call like walking simulators.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like, it's actually, there's some great storytelling opportunities with it, with that type of style, where you're not pressured into kind of pulling out a gun at the last minute and shooting something. You're just kind of exploring, kind of figuring out the story that has happened, or that like happened to that area.
Right.
I mean, like Gone Home did that too. And they were able to manage kind of making a house seem super creepy while you're doing it.
Yeah, I liked Gone Home. It was all right.
So like those types of games are pretty cool. And yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about the Rapture.
I didn't really play a lot of great indie games in 2015. I will mention really quickly Ark Survival Evolved. Have you guys heard of this one?
I have.
Yeah, I was a Steam, early adopter.
Right.
And I didn't play a very completed version of the game, I don't think, but I love the concept of it, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think it officially launched in 2015, but it's one of those things that they're constantly updating. So the concept is that you wake up naked and alone on a desert island, and you have to like punch. It's just like Minecraft. You have to punch a rock and make a stone, and then make an axe, and then you can chop down a tree and build a hut. And the twist is that there are dinosaurs on the island, so you have to survive and build a shelter, and you're in a populated world where when you're sleeping, people can come and steal everything you own if you're playing on the live server kind of thing.
It's kind of cool.
Minecraft with dinosaurs.
I like dinosaurs.
and like
And I like
more
Minecraft.
griefing.
Yeah.
I only played a little bit of it and watched the rest. It's Soma.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of this underwater game, and it deals a lot with what is human and humanity and all that. Has some interesting twists and turns, and there's just little areas where you kind of have to just be on the avoid. You have to just avoid them, kind of like Alien Isolation,
Okay.
but not as frequent. So that you can tell when you're in an area where there's a creature that's going to get you, but then the rest of it's exploring and getting the story, and it's got some interesting twists and turns, and I liked kind of what they were exploring with that.
That's cool.
Very good.
And a lot of cool atmosphere. Like they really knock atmosphere out of the park. This game developer.
Cool. All right, let's move on to a mobile game. For mobile game, I'll list the one that I put the most hours into this year, and then when things went awry, I basically spiked my phone on the ground and said I'll never fucking play that game again.
Candy Crush. No. Ran out of
Candy
lives.
Crush Soda.
Mine was Fallout Shelter.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I played the fuck out of this thing, and I mean, I sunk hours into that, creating the best possible shelter.
Yep.
I had everything running. All my people were banging each other. There was always I had a pregnant room, where all my pregnant ladies were. I was.
And
Doing,
they were all related to each other too.
Oh
which
yeah,
was
I
crazy.
was doing awesome. And then one fucking mole rat attack, and then I just didn't notice it because my entire thing had gotten so big. And you're if you wait just a little too long, and then it can spring up in all the other different rooms.
Yeah.
Totally happened to me. And then suddenly they're in every fucking room in my entire thing, and the whole thing burned down. I had 2 people left. I'm like, well, fuck you then.
That killed it for you?
Oh, I was so mad.
This is actually my pick too. This is where I start just giving the HJs to Fallout because that's the rest of my picks. But my game actually made it. I had a couple of bugs because I got it on launch day, and I had a couple of women who were permanently pregnant, and that kind of was a bummer. And then it did eventually patch. And I opened the game, and they all had babies at the same time, and it was just a big old mess in my shelter. And then one day, it actually got to the point where I couldn't open my shelter, and it wouldn't save the file anymore. Every time it tried to auto-save the file, it would crash my game. So I could no longer make progress through the game, and that's when I stopped playing it.
See, for me, all the mole rat and raider attacks happened so early. So I would just get started and be like, okay, I'm at a point where I need to kind of build up. Oh, raider attack, everything's dead.
How do you not
Start
just
over.
put some people in your vault room with machine guns?
I did.
And they didn't
That's the
keep
thing.
up
is
with
like,
it?
the thing was,
I
I
would send people out, and then they were so idiotic they would die before they could find anything and bring them back.
Yeah.
Like everybody I sent
You
out.
guys
So I had to stop
played
sending
wrong.
people out. Yeah.
I had
well,
forgot one. I forgot one to arm one
Yeah.
room, and that's when the mole rats hit. And I didn't notice. I'm like, what fucking? Because my shelter was huge, and like, what fucking room are they in? And then by the time I figured it out, they sprung up in every room.
And also, in
people
what
started
room?
dying.
In what world can pregnant women not just pick up a small gun and shoot things?
Like they just have to run away, going. "Ah!" Oh, I was so annoyed.
like
This game is not very feminine strong.
It is not.
But even that aside, it's like, well, pull your share. I know you're pregnant, but
Yeah.
you're not that far along. You're halfway through the pregnancy. You get a gun.
John, do you have a different mobile game, or is that one yours too?
I didn't pick that one just because I got frustrated with that game so early.
Yeah.
For me, it was the You Must Build a Boat that I mentioned.
Oh,
episodes back,
yeah.
Where it kind of combined RPG elements with a match 3 in a very kind of fun way.
Yep.
And it was difficult to pull myself away from it.
Okay.
And it had a perfect balance and wasn't frustrating. And when you did lose, because you lose a lot because it's an endless runner with a match 3, so you're gonna lose. But then that's part of advancing, sort of in a Dark Souls style, but
Yeah.
not quite as, F you. But it just encourages you to keep trying. There's stats and there's a lot of things you can kind of min max on it, and
Yeah.
it hits that obsessive nature. I like it.
A quick shout out. It came out this year, so it doesn't count. But Pocket Morty's has been a lot of fun. That's where
I'll
I've been
take a look at
spending
it.
my time.
Oh,
It's
man.
Pokemon with Rick and Morty.
Wow, that sounds fun.
Oh, it's so good. You're Rick, and you are traveling through different universes, collecting different Mortys.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Morty.
move on. Let's move on to best PC game. Now, I don't own a PC, so I just
don't
voted.
either.
I voted for the one that I want to play the most on PC, which is Fallout 4.
Especially with modding.
Which is
Yeah.
pretty impressive because you have it on console.
Yeah,
But
and I'd
that-
rather play it on PC.
that is also my pick for PC game. It's probably the biggest game I played in 2015 at all. I played, as anybody with Steam does, they go on sale, and I play old games all the time. But Fallout, Bethesda, and Obsidian just really hit all the home runs for me. So I love every Fallout game, every Elder Scrolls game that comes out. Just the RPG nature of it, the immersive world. my favorite thing about Fallout is just the way that you can go wandering anywhere, and you just come across these little scenes where you find dead bodies and like a radio in a bathtub, and just the guy who got to design all of these little moments that you come across that have nothing to do with any plot or dialogue, but are just like you get a hint into the world that this world actually existed. That's what I love the most.
And it released on PC, not broken.
So best console game, I'm just going to make this really short and sweet because we did a whole episode on it. So if you want to hear my actual opinion on it, listen to that. Bloodborne.
I didn't get to play Bloodborne. I'm going to go with Arkham Knight.
Okay.
I'd say Until Dawn. I really liked the cheesy horror.
That game was awesome.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about that when I made this list. That game was fucking great.
Yeah.
And then best video game of the year. I think I know where Ryan's going to land on this one. But mine is I'm going to stick with Bloodborne. I love the shit out of Bloodborne. That was like the best 60 hours I spent in a game like that in a long fucking time.
All right.
Yeah, for me, just Fallout 4. Runner-up for Star Wars Battlefront for being way better than I expected.
I still haven't played it.
It's fun. There's no content, and that turned me off right away. But the fun, like, arcade style of it just is a blast, and you can sit down and spend 20 minutes on it. Like, if I had 20 minutes to play a video game, I could not go open Fallout 4 or I'd be in trouble.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I'm going to do Until Dawn again just because of, like, I would do Fallout 4, but I hated the ending, so.
I feel like we should let Until Dawn know because I don't think they got a single Game of the Year award, so at
Yeah.
least they got one from us.
Yeah. No, yeah, I just loved what they did, and it was such a concise game. Whereas, like, I think what loses me on Fallout 4 is just it's not.
Fair
No,
enough.
the story
More so than,
apart.
yeah. Would you say the story falls out?
Let's move on to comic books next. We have another set of callers for this. These are some guys that I'm going to be working a lot with in 2016. This is Sheldon and Kirk from Deus Ex Comica, a brand new website that's about to launch in February.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. I am Sheldon. This is Kirk.
Hey guys, how you doing?
We are from Deus Comica, and you should be on the lookout for us, folks, because we are coming your way. And let's talk about some comics. Best mini for us, hands down. I know Kirk and I both agree. Lando from Marvel Comics.
Yes.
Amazing. Go read this. Incredible.
With Star Wars Lando miniseries, would not believe that they would actually do something amazing with Lando Calrissian in the Marvel Universe as far as Star Wars goes. But the writer is Charles Soule, and Alex Maleev is the artist. And Sheldon, honestly, I don't think anyone expected this type of high caliber creativity on a small project like that.
Nope. Absolutely shocked me. I cannot say enough about this comic. Go get it. It is incredible. Now we're going to move on to Best Graphic Collected. What do we got, Kirk?
There's a little dissension on this one, but I think we can both agree that even though it wasn't necessarily my top one, everyone is going to be like a huge crowd pleaser for 2015. It was Brian K. Vaughan's Private Eye. And this was a series that was in internet form originally and only, and it was pay-as-you-go so that you could download all the different episodes. But then the collected volume came out last year, and holy shit, it is beautiful. And it collected, as it reads collected, it's amazing. And it just shows why Brian K. Vaughan is still at the top of his game as far as comic books go.
Absolutely, and I know you can still pick it up. You can pick it up at your comic book retailers, but you can also pick it up at thepanelsyndicate.com, so check that out too.
Definitely.
Now, next we also have the Best Running Series, and that is The Walking Dead from Image Comics. And Robert Kirkman, again, he puts it out every month. It's reliable. It's a great story. He gives us a nice cliffhanger every month. It is comics. It's perfect. I mean, there's no capes. I don't need capes always. It's my one go-to for that. It's different. I don't necessarily need the TV series. It stands on its own, and I love it, and I'm thankful for it every single month. So
I just can't believe that they just celebrated 150 issues.
150. I know.
And it's still, I mean, I'm pretty sure we had some pretty amazing shocks and twists and amazing, just high adrenaline comic book drama in this series. I couldn't agree with you more. I can't believe that the series is still as strong as it is after 150 issues.
And, dude, they're only going to keep getting better and crazier, and big. It's just going to be insane.
Absolutely.
The next we have, and this is a big thank you to you, Kirk, because I would never have heard of this comic were it not for you. this is the best for us breakout comic this past year.
This came out of nowhere.
Absolutely, and you can. It's all you, buddy. You can tell.
All right, the best breakout. I'm gonna go with Matthew Rosenberg and We Can Never Go Home. It is put out by Black Mask Studios, and it's it's a quick little mini that. The best way I could describe it is essentially imagine a teenage Scott Summers and Jean Grey with a lot of freaking issues go and just do a road trip, very true romance. It's just those what the characters reminded me of, and it's them trying to find themselves. But like true romance, they get kind of caught up in a bunch of gangsters doing gangster shit and people chasing after them because they just happen to have extraordinary powers that the rest of the world is not ready for. And just out of nowhere. Completely heartfelt, definitely feels real. You definitely feel the teenage angst, and I could not get enough of this comic, and I'm really excited by this writer, Rosenberg. They also just announced that there is going to be a sequel coming up later this year.
Awesome. Cannot wait for that. It is a great comic, and look out for it because it's going to be amazing. Amazing writer, too. So
Absolutely.
The next we have is Best crossover event or best event, and it goes for us anyway, which kind of just ended, which might count that as a little bit of a cheating, but
but whatever, they were delayed on the release date, but you take this one, dude.
It's Jonathan Hickman mainly did a lot of this sort of layout. Overall is Secret Wars. Between this and DC's Convergence, I'm really going to go with Secret Wars altogether. Marvel held it together. They wrote a character motivated story that was driven by the characters, and the change was by the characters and not primarily by money, which was nice to see. And the outcome was nice to see. That overall it dictated a different change and a true change. It really did dictate what happened in the overall universe. Even if a little bit had to do with the money, whatever. At the end of the day, there was actual peril and there was change from it. So I got to give it to Secret Wars. Jonathan Hickman, you will be missed, sir.
Yes,
you will be missed.
I definitely have to agree. I did not expect to see the stakes raised and see such a emotional story in a Marvel event series. You just don't usually get that. But yeah, absolutely. I couldn't believe how great Secret Wars was.
Yeah. Big surprise. Just big surprise.
And then I think let's just really quickly do a shout out before we get to the big ones, which is artist and writer.
Sure.
Going back, I want to revisit Black Mask. I really think that for 2015, that was the breakout company to watch.
100%.
100%. These guys just curated some amazing talent. They kind of are going creator owned, a lot like in the Image vein. Their titles definitely have a flair for the punk rock. Definitely a little rough around the edges, but I think that's very on purpose and very edgy. And I'm really excited to watch this studio as they start to develop and kind of come into their own, because they've already, like I said, 2015, they put out one of the best comics on the market and told one of the best stories. And I don't think the company's even 2 years old yet. So, guys, go check out Black Mask Studios. We're really excited for that.
Yeah, and on top of that, I think if you've never gotten into them, obviously you want to pick up You Can Never Go Home, but also check out Young Terrorist. That is sort of one of their tentpole books, because they are going to develop a sort of Avengers style book based off of Young Terrorist.
And then another one that you pointed out that you turned me on to, Sheldon, was actually Space Riders.
Yes. Yeah, that's another good one.
Just completely groovy, like Mike Allred art, but just completely crazy EC Comics, old school space sci-fi telling.
It's crazy.
Definitely check that out.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it's a lot of fun. So check those out, guys. That's Black Mask, blackmaskstudios.com, I believe, is their actual website. They're a great group. But let's hit the two sort of last big ones.
These are the big ones. These are the big two for 2015, the best of.
Yeah, so we got best artist.
You want to go with artist first?
Yeah, let's go best artist.
All right, so 2015, in our opinion, and this is definitely very arguable and debatable, and this is why we love comic books in the first place, Mr. Sheldon, 2015, best artist.
David Aja with Hawkeye. He and Fraction did, for the most part, arguably the quintessential Hawkeye run,
Yes.
Really, I mean, when you tell me there's going to be a Hawkeye run, I'm going to laugh at you a little bit. But then you put Matt Fraction and David Aja on Hawkeye, and you let them go for it, and then they give you a quintessential run, and then you see the artistry that is done by Aja, and the layouts, and the way that he is using all of the page, the covers. I mean, every aspect of it is just a work of art, and
I cannot imagine notes. Yeah, I can't imagine the notes that Fraction was giving his artist to be able to pull off this series.
Yeah,
and I mean, it just has its own original feel that kind of really reminds you of a really romantic film with a lot of like spy action. There's so many great elements and themes going on with this series that it's hard to pinpoint like just a few specifics as to why you need to pick up this series. But I mean, just this art alone and the layouts and how they handled the panels, Sheldon's absolutely right. Every aspect that this guy touched, putting the series together, it works perfectly. You can see the detail and the love that went into it.
Yeah, it was just great. I loved it. And then, well, obviously, this leads us to Best Writer, Kirk, and
Best Writer of 2015.
There you go.
And this was hotly debated. We had a lot of opinions. We definitely have a lot of favorite artists and writers to talk about, but the best writer, the one that stood out, the one that we saw the most consistently amazing work put out this year. Sheldon, take it away.
Always Ed Brubaker. No, that's my own personal opinion.
Always Ed Brubaker.
It is Bryan K. Vaughan,
yes,
who continues to amaze, not just with Private Eye, not just with Paper Girls. Not just with Saga, not just with what was the
We Stand on Guard.
We Stand on Guard. He continues to put out high caliber, great stories, and we can expect more of that, and more from his websites. You know, he continues to build great stories and in different ways, and seemingly. He's never gonna run out.
Yeah, and I can't believe how diverse he is in all the stories that he tells.
Yeah,
that was, I mean, We Stand on Guard was definitely commentary on U.S. political foreign affairs and how we handle them. And
absolutely.
Then Paper Girls goes and recaptures like the love that we have for
the
those
Goonies
80s Spielberg films like Goonies and that sort of thing. And then there's also so much progressive forward thinking in his ideas and the stories that he's telling. And on top of that, you have Saga, which should be like this amazing epic sci-fi, fantasy adventure, but is dealing with such human family issues and the development of the characters. Like, I can't believe how incredibly layered these grand ideas that he has come down to something that essentially every comic that you read from him, you're going to find something that you personally will relate on. And I'm just floored that he's able to pull that from every title.
Yeah, he... hands down, Bryan K. Vaughan, just when you think he can't top himself, he continues to keep reaching. So here's to 2016, and hopefully all of these bars will be met and leaped over by bounds. So
I can't wait to see what 2016 is going to bring the rest of us, because like you said, they're the caliber of art and work that's being put out there.
I have a feeling that 2016 is going to bring a whole new reboot from a certain company.
No.
Oh yeah.
No.
I've heard things.
There's rumblings.
What it will bring is hopefully you guys to our site, DEUS COMICA, and expect great things from us, and we hope to have great things from you guys. That is it from me, Sheldon, and from Kirk.
I would like to give one more plug because I want to spell that out. Deus Ex Comica, DEUSEXCOMICA.com. You can always find us also at that Twitter handle. And please look for us online. And also, if you're listening to this podcast, thank you for having us. Comments down below or anywhere on the page, because we want to hear your opinion. Essentially, if we were right or wrong. But we'll give you a place to talk about it. It'll be a safe place.
There you go.
Is that a good spiel?
No touching below this line.
Okay, cool.
All right, there you go. There it is.
Thanks, boys.
All right.
A lot of great stuff there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I mean, When Ryan told me that we had one 12-minute thing coming in, I was like, that might be a little long. But then if you listen to it, it's kind of like, well, that's like a little mini podcast in the heart of ours, which is also what Ryan said.
Yeah.
But I think it works, and I think it's a really good lead into what we're going to talk about, because they clearly know way more about comics than I fucking ever will.
Yep.
And that's coming from somebody who considers himself a very big comic fan. So
Right.
Even at that, it's like, wow, like that's impressive. But let's start kind of how we did with the other one. Let's go with the best miniseries, and I'm gonna say miniseries are like kind of run, because I'm already cheating with mine.
Yeah.
But I'll go first. For me, what I thought was the most entertaining thing in comics last year, as far as like a run goes, was basically the return and end of Scott Snyder's version of the Joker, which is in Batman and Batman Endgame. Which, granted, it's not really the end of the Joker, because it never really is the end of the Joker. But this was such a great follow-up to Death of the Family that it was like the most fun read of Batman and the Joker in a long fucking time.
That's
Yeah.
good to know. I actually stopped reading his runs on Batman with volumes 3 and 4. I forgot
Yep.
what the titles of those series were, but I'll go back to Endgame because I loved City of Owls and Death in the Family.
Yeah, Death of the Family was really, really
Death
good.
of the
Yeah,
Family.
not in the family. This one's not about Robin dying.
Right.
But yeah,
No,
yeah,
sort of.
Well, kind of, yeah. But yeah, Death of the Family and Endgame was really, I think, like those are the two like shining achievements of Scott Snyder and Batman. So
Well,
that-
and
yeah.
when I first read it, I was like, when I realized it was a Joker, I was like, oh god, not the Joker again. And then by the end, I was like, that worked.
even by the end of that issue, I'm just like, oh, like the way that issue opens, like the way Endgame opens with all of the Justice League trying to kill Batman,
Yeah.
was like, this is a fucking intense open. Like this is surprisingly good, and yeah, the whole series just had twists and turns, and it was just really great, and it was fun seeing this version of the Joker, and like just one who was just like, you know what, I'm tired of pulling punches. Like I'm out to kill you this time.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of like it was fun. It didn't feel as much of a game for the Joker this time.
Yeah, and Snyder does a good job with that mystery. He
Yeah.
kind of gives you a good hook, and then you're just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
So yeah, I liked it.
yeah. I was a
That's
big
gonna be
fan.
mine as well. I'm
Okay.
piggybacking on yours.
Yeah.
Right on. I talked about it a few times this year on the podcast. This has been my year of Marvel. I've been trying to catch up on all their old stuff with my unlimited subscription, and kind of started there with my revisiting, actually collecting comic books weekly. So I'm going to go with the Marvel miniseries Ultimate End. This was Brian
heard of this one, yeah.
Bendis's kind of swan song to the Ultimate Universe, part of the Secret Wars event. He did a tie-in where he's the plot of Secret Wars is that it's this patchwork planet made up of all the remnants of the Marvel universes. So Ultimate End takes place in New York City, where the Ultimate New York City has been dumped straight on top of the main universe, New York City, and all these superheroes are trying to coexist together. And just from the first issue, I knew it was going to be great. He really gives a lot of love to Miles' Ultimate Spider-Man, and it's just a really nice farewell. The only thing that was probably better than it was the main book itself of Secret Wars.
Yeah, Bendis is like my favorite thing about Bendis is that you can just tell he just loves Marvel and writing for Marvel and writing with those characters. Like he just brings so much to the table every time. Like,
I mean, to me, he's kind of hit or miss. I
love
think
him.
he probably does a lot of work for what I'm going to call commerce, where
Okay.
they throw him something like Avengers Assemble, and they're like, we've got to put these characters in it, and you got to come up with a simple story to get kids into it. And he just like kind of pens it out, and he's done with it. But the characters that he loves, like Ultimate Spider-Man, you could tell he really, really loves.
Ultimate Spider-Man and the X-Men.
Yeah.
Like his all-new X-Men series was fantastic. All right, let's move on to best ongoing series. For me, this usually, like we just heard, would be hands down Walking Dead every year because what they do is fantastic. I wholeheartly disagree with what we listened to, though, because I thought this entire past year of Walking Dead was boring as fuck. But so for my best ongoing series, it's easy. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's fantastic. It's been fantastic. They hit issue 150, or not 150, they hit issue 50 this year. They had a great storyline going into it, and they continue out of it great. Turtles has been phenomenal since they've come back to comics.
Yeah, I actually just started it, and I don't know if it came out this year, but that's my favorite collected edition right now is TMNT Volume 1, the first, 25 issues.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I can't
So
say it's
good.
my best ongoing because I'm not there yet,
Yeah.
but
So what was your ongoing then?
My ongoing is also going to be Turtles, just
Yeah.
because of that.
Fuck
Like,
yes,
because I
Turtles.
didn't. But see, again, I didn't read too many, so that's kind of a knock against me on that. But the one I did read, Turtles, was the one.
Yeah.
Love it.
So I have a series that actually it ran through all of 2015, even though it's pretty new series with old characters. I'm going to give it to Charles Soule with his current run on Inhumans.
Okay, yeah.
So it started 2015 started with his like issue number 12 or something, a really low number, and he did the Inhumans throughout the beginning of the year. During the summer event, he wrote one called Attilan Rising, which was the story of the Inhumans as they're interacting with God Doom and trying to figure out what's going on. And Black Bolt plays like kind of this noir feeling, like Private Eye almost, who's trying to investigate Medusa's connection to Doom. So it's really good. And then after that, he has been writing Uncanny Inhumans, starting post Secret Wars, and it's continuing to be even good, even better. Black Bolt has given up his only son to save him from the events of Secret Wars, and we're gonna see how that plays out.
Okay. So we're going to go with best new series. So series that started in 2015. I really need to emphasize that because mine only had one issue in 2015. But it started, or it might have had two. I don't think it, well, whatever. My best new series of 2015, and I'm kind of biased here just because I fucking love this character. It came out during the Marvel Spider-Verse event.
Oh, yeah.
It's where she started. And I know most people would think I immediately say Spider-Gwen, and
Nope.
no, I go Silk. Silk is fucking awesome.
Huh.
Like, I love that character. I love everything about her. And her book has only had a few issues, but each one of them have been great. I love the artist. We'll get into that in a moment. But like everything about Silk right now has been a blast. It's been fun, and it does something with a female Spider character that I feel like really hasn't been done before, where she doesn't feel like a clone of Spider-Man, and she doesn't feel like a Spider-Girl, Spider-Woman character. Like she has her whole own new thing, and it's been a blast.
That's a lot of fun. I'm actually going to go the other way, where you didn't go and say Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
What I like, man, Spider-Man has always been my character, and Peter Parker has always been the secret identity that I relate to the most. And Spider-Gwen is doing a really cool job of telling something that feels like the old Spider-Man comics, the old Peter Parker, except it's Gwen Stacy. Everything is turned on its head. She's in another universe. And they're getting really creative with the way that they fit the Lizard and Dr. Octopus and Captain America and all the other Avengers-type characters into the story. Everybody's there, but with a little bit of a twist. So Captain America is a female. I think there's a female Nick Fury as well. And just like everybody's got this little variation on it. I'm really loving the comic.
Okay.
And I got to say I like Spider-Gwen's costume design better than Silk.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Wow, I love Silk.
So a little bit of a cheat because it technically started in 2014, but it's ongoing, and it's Scott Snyder's Witches.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which is it's a newer horror comic series by him. It's limited, but it's still ongoing. So it's kind of more like if they don't get funding, they're probably not going to do more sort of thing.
Oh, that was like with Brian Bendis' Scarlet, which was fucking great.
Yeah.
And now it's gone.
And really the premise was that he was out, like how he came up with the ideas. He was in the woods. He thought he saw something in the trees and it freaked him out. He's like, I should turn those into witches. And then then he weaved in like his fears as a dad, as a parent throughout the whole like first arc. And it had hit the in the feels.
Nice.
Really liked it. And the art style was kind of very like watercolory, kind of like the 30 Days a Night style of more like kind of, it looks sloppy, but there's kind of an artistry to it, kind of getting uncanny in the painting.
Cool.
Really cool style. Really, really deep storytelling within a very simple horror premise.
All right, so best comic book art. I'm going to go with Stacey Lee and Silk because I fucking love Silk.
I have written down Chris Bachalo for his work on Doctor Strange, the newest incarnation. I think we're like three issues in, but he's doing a really cool job of like creating that feel of Doctor Strange can see all these weird otherworldly things that we don't see.
I'm going to agree with the guys that just called in on Aja for a Hawkeye. Cause,
nice. Yeah, that's a good one.
Once they mentioned it, I was just like, yep, that's my pick.
That's the only thing I open that comic for is to look at the pictures. I don't read it. I don't care about Hawkeye at all. Oh, my God. He's just going to die in it.
Sorry, Mad Fraction. We just lost him as an audience.
Let's see.
All right, before we go into best comic book overall, I don't have a one-shot, and I know John doesn't either.
No.
But Ryan, you said you had one really good one-shot.
It's actually my favorite issue of the year as well.
Oh, wow.
So we'll just jump right into it. My favorite single comic book that came out in all of 2015 is Hank Johnson, Agent of Hydra. This was, I think, right before or during the beginning of the Secret Wars event. This is the story of Hank Johnson, bumbling idiot, agent of Hydra. So it gets into stuff like you see all of Hydra, Hail Hydra, giving the hand wave, and he's just like, oh man, I forgot to put my laundry in the dryer. here. Or like, he gets home and his wife is nagging him, and he's like, I almost killed Captain America today, but I got foiled. It's just along the lines of the Cleanup Crew series. It was just a really fun one shot.
Yeah, I didn't read anything quite that good, but my best comic book overall. I don't have a specific issue to pick out. I mean, I could say, well, no, fuck it, I will. Issue 50, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I have to say that so fast. It was like it was the end of basically a 50-issue arc.
That's
They had like a running idea from issue 1 of where they wanted to go with it, and of course they do offshoots and stuff like that. They bring in a whole bunch of other people. I don't want to spoil things if you haven't read the series. This is actually one I don't want to spoil for people. But once you finally get to issue 50, it feels like it's the culmination of everything up until that point, and it was just so fucking good.
That's a really solid thing. And Secret Wars #9 felt that way to me, where you really felt the end of Hickman's runs on New Avengers, Fantastic Four. All of them culminated in one point, and came out in 2016. So next year we'll talk about it.
Same thing as you. I have to piggyback off of it just because, like...
You guys read the same comics this year.
Yeah, we did.
Glad I read Marvel.
Well, you recommended it, and then I started
It's
reading
so
it, and you're right. I mean, when you're right, you're right.
Fuck yeah.
Cowabunga, dude.
All right, so let's move on to TV. And for that one, we get old co-host Nick Friedman, a.k.a. the Hadouken from Hoboken.
Yay.
All right.
Hadouken from Hoboken. Woo!
He called in. He did have some recording issues, as he will explain right in the beginning.
So for some reason, the last recording stopped, and I didn't know where it stopped. So you're just getting scraps at this point, Brian. I'm sorry. I want to give an honorable mention to a few shows. First and foremost, Bob's Burgers, Broad City, and Review. I feel like those are easily 2 of the best shows, or 3 of the best comedies on TV. Like, hands down, like, no question. Especially Review. I feel like that's a really underrated show. You guys should watch it. Andy Daly is incredible. As far as reality TV shows, I have to recommend this awful, awful show, Are You the One?, which is basically 20 stupid people trying to figure out a simple compare and contrast, like, process of elimination problem. It's horrible, but it's really funny, and it's definitely worth watching if you're into just like, I have to waste some time, I don't necessarily want to think about this, and then just be astonished at how little thought is put into the show. Then I also want to say that Top Chef is back, because Top Chef, I think, is one of the best fucking shows, like, reality shows or otherwise. Like, it's a great franchise. But the show that I looked forward to all year, genuinely was just so excited to come home and to watch it, and then to talk about it, and to recommend it to other people, and to brag about it, is Fargo, the season 2 of Fargo. I think that it's... Not only is it incredibly well done, and also does the best job of emulating somebody else's style without ripping them off, it also did what True Detective wanted to do, but better, which is a serialized kind of seasonal serial sort of thing, which is not a new concept. American Horror Story did it before that, but I think True Detective kind of brought it to major American audiences. But I don't think that it accomplished what it really wanted to do. It didn't build on anything. It didn't build on the mythos of the universe or whatever. It didn't do anything particularly interesting. But I do feel like Fargo did that same thing but better, which I'd already said before, I guess. But in case you don't know, Fargo Season 1 happens. Fargo Season 2 takes place in the 70s before Fargo Season 1, following the dad of a character in Season 1. Which I guess could seem complicated, but you don't even need to see Season 1 to watch Season 2, which I think is really incredible. And in a weird way, I'd recommend watching Season 2 and then watching Season 1, because they reference a few things that happen in Season 2 vaguely. But they just do such a good job of building up that whole universe in a weird way, the universe of Fargo. They're pulling from the movie, just in the sense of style and philosophy and all of that sort of, like, it feels like it's sequels to the movie but not being these direct things. And I feel like it's the best show on TV. Like, easily, hands down, was the most entertaining, gave me the most goosebumps, did the most, I feel like, to push TV in a really interesting way. It's just crazy how good the show was, and I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, so I won't, but it just does such a good job of creating these amazing characters and having, like, amazing moments in the show that you wouldn't necessarily expect. They tend to not take the easy path. I really can't sing its praises enough. I do feel like it's easily the best show on TV. I just really can't imagine really any other show beating it. I'm probably blanking on a few shows that I watched that I really enjoyed, but nothing is coming to mind right now. I guess you could say The Jinx or To Catch a Murderer, but there's something weird about the reality-ish part of it that I feel like it deserves some sort of nomination, but it's just a different beast, I guess, which, I don't know, it's kind of a cop-out. But easily 100% Fargo, hands down. I just really can't recommend it enough. I assume you guys are watching it, but if you aren't, you really, really, really fucking should.
And that's it.
Right on.
I completely agree with Nick.
I wrote down, when I made a list of this, I actually wrote down at the top of the TV segment that I have not watched Fargo. I wanted to mention that because it would probably have all my awards otherwise.
There's a strong chance that it would have for me as well, but if not, I mean, you're going to notice real quick that I have a pretty big theme to my best of for TV, because I watched one show this year that I didn't think I'd ever come back to in this strong, like, emotional attachment as I have because of its current season.
Who could that be?
So we'll start with Best Actress. We're keeping the categories a little low, and right off the get-go, you're going to know where I'm going to be throughout pretty much this entire series.
Yep.
So Best Actress for me, Jenna Coleman, Doctor Who.
Oh.
She did the best she's ever done. She actually made the character not just a clone of the Doctor, which is what my complaint has always been for Clara. Is like, oh, this is a Clara Oswald show. I don't really want to watch it. And she actually made herself both a leading and strong female and the Doctor's companion, and not just companion in the way of, like, she's the hot thing that follows this guy around
And is in love with him.
Yeah, she made herself like an actual, like, partner to the Doctor, which is something that I don't think has really fully been accomplished in a long time. Like, it was like Donna Noble kind of did a little bit, but she was also very, very Catherine Tate, so it kind of made it a little bit difficult. Martha Jones was horrible, I think. She's a fine actress, don't get me wrong, but they went the wrong way with her character. And Billie Piper was a love story. So, like, this one, it really felt like the first time where she was his partner.
I agree.
And he needed her. And, like, she did such a great job owning that. Like, it was fucking phenomenal.
She was probably the best companion since Sarah Jane.
I never, ever would have said that until season 9. And then season 9, I'm like, fuck, she was amazing.
I mean, without her, Peter Capaldi would have tanked hard in the last season. She was the only thing that held the show together through that transition.
Through the season 8, she absolutely without her, the show would have died.
I mean, the way they rebooted with Matt Smith and Amy Pond at the same time worked great. Those guys had great chemistry.
Yep.
But moving into Peter Capaldi with a new Doctor, he would have just bombed.
Yeah. So, actress?
I'll go next. To Nick's point, he didn't mention her as the actress, but Kirsten Dunst in Fargo does a very understated and very solid performance. I think she did a really good job.
That's saying something, because I don't think I'd ever say Kirsten Dunst is the best anything other than child actress from Interview with the Vampire.
And I do have to caveat that I haven't seen quite as many TV shows, so there could be one that is better, and that I'm just pulling from a small sample pool. But she was good. Like, she had a good role, and she played the character really well.
Fair enough.
And there was a like, you can't discount this understated nature in a show that's about crazy Coen-esque people.
Yeah.
To have someone understated and still with a quiet power in them, that's hard. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
I didn't really watch a lot of the great shows people have been talking about this year, including The Leftovers, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to go with Haley Atwell from Agent Carter.
That's a solid
choice.
choice.
A really good time, and I'm having a good time watching her.
Yeah, she's great. All right, so Best Actor. I had somebody written down before, and it changed. I bet you could guess to what it changed to. Peter Capaldi, Doctor Who. Again, he
Surprise.
Only because of how well he upped his game from last season.
Yeah.
I would agree with you. Yeah.
I mean, he went from I don't know what the fuck this doctor is
Right.
to really being like a well-rounded, like
knowing what the fuck
solid
the doctor
Yeah,
is.
to being his own doctor and
Yeah.
making him somebody that I want to watch. And the fact that I only have one season left of this doctor is very, very depressing.
It was a
because
big
I
deal.
wanted 3 of
Yeah.
them. All right, next.
All right, this is where you're gonna get where my picks are going from here on out. I'm gonna go with Mads Mikkelsen for Hannibal.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Yeah, good choice.
He closed out that series in such a great way, and his take on Hannibal is great.
Mm-hmm.
Like Anthony Hopkins is good; he's the classic, but
Man, I literally had it written down until 1 second ago. I was going to go with Robin Lord Taylor, who's playing the Penguin on Gotham, because he's having
okay.
a blast. But I'm going to change it last second. David Tennant and Jessica Jones.
He was so fucking good.
so good.
Yes. The only reason I enjoy the show.
Oh, I enjoyed it for a few reasons, but he really drove it home. To see somebody going, the last thing I saw him in was the super charismatic Doctor Who to the total 180 super creepy villain was fantastic. Man, that guy can act.
So best episode of any TV show. I'll just keep my train going. It's episode 11, Heaven Sent, from season 9 of Doctor Who, which is basically all Peter Capaldi all the time, but it is one of the most emotional and like character-driven episodes.
If I didn't go with that, I would go with the finale of Jessica Jones. I was really happy how it ended. I'm not always happy with like the finale of a first season.
there was a sense
enough.
of like catharsis and release
Yes.
and like relief. I mean,
And it was building, it really properly built the tension the entire season, and then the end just released it.
and
all
I
beautifully.
cheered for
Yeah.
like how it played out. I was like, yes,
Yep.
you go, girl,
And I
in the
read
most manly way possible.
I read the comics just before it came out, and I had no idea that they made an entire season of a TV show out of 3 issues of the
Yeah,
Jessica
that's
Jones
impressive.
original
out of
run.
3 issues, and
Uh-huh.
it's as solid as it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they, man, I'm usually bummed when I read the source material and then go right into the TV show. And once I was like, oh, they're going to make the entire season out of this. Oh, that's what they're doing with Purple Man. Oh, I like this.
Yeah.
It was really good.
And those side characters in that finale, the
Yep.
side characters who just kind of like, oh, you feel for them so much.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty great. Mine is the Hannibal finale.
Fair
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
If you watch Hannibal going into it as a huge romantic like bromance between Will Graham and Hannibal, the poetic ending is so just
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Where it's hard to explain without getting too spoilery, but there's a moment where it's like they're gonna do this. Oh, how romantic, and it's the most grim thing ever. Love it.
Okay, so best show overall, Doctor Who.
Hannibal.
So Ryan's the one.
So, yeah, I'm going to go with Daredevil overall, even though Jessica Jones had really strong moments and characters. I had a lot of fun on Daredevil.
It seems
Daredevil
like
was great.
it seems like Daredevil is the most consistent in its quality, whereas Jessica Jones has its when it's up, and when it's down, it's really down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, then, since we are primarily a movie podcast,
Oh, should we talk about
I
movies?
feel like we should talk about movies. I mean, better late than never, right?
I guess.
Yeah, we were going to get somebody to do this one, but when I got a 12-minute clip for comic books, I said, we have enough callers.
Yeah.
We can handle movies.
I think we can handle movies.
Yeah.
We handle movies on a weekly basis.
It's kind of our thing.
So we're gonna start just kind of the bottom of our list here, as we did before. We're gonna start with best special effects. We're gonna go kind of broad here. I know there's a lot of subcategories and stuff like that, and we do have more here than we did for any of the other ones, but we'll still move through. So best special effects. If any of you disagree with me, I'm gonna be surprised, but I have to go with Star Wars: Force Awakens.
I disagree with you.
Really?
Because I felt the special effects as well as the practical effects were done when there were animated aliens on the screen and such. I knew. So my pick is Fury Road, which like the
Yeah,
special
yeah,
effects
yeah.
just blended so seamlessly into the practical.
I'm actually with
effects.
Ryan on that. Yeah.
I can't argue with you. All right. So best sound. I'm sticking with Star Wars: Force Awakens.
No problem, but I'm gonna go with Straight Outta Compton.
Oh, yeah,
when
interesting.
they
Yeah,
cut
that's a
back
good
and
choice.
forth between the dialogue was mixed and edited beautifully, and then cutting back and forth to the concert sequences were just amazing. It
Okay.
really made me feel something. I'm so glad I saw it in the theater.
That movie was so much better than I think it had really any right to be.
Yeah.
And then it's gotten ignored in like every category in the Oscars. But at that point, I
Right.
say, who cares? They made a fucking great movie.
And that's
Like,
how Ice Cube feels.
Yeah, like, and I think they're right because
Yeah.
they made a great movie out of that. Sound
Fury Road for sound.
okay?
Yep,
Yeah.
another good
solid,
choice.
solid.
Yep.
It felt very like it felt when the punches landed. I felt it when the
Yep.
gunfire shot rang out. felt it. Every part of the sound I felt. So that was actually that's why I like it.
That's a close one for me, but I went straight out of Compton because I figured no one else would.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I had to go Star Wars because the redesign on Star Wars, like the reinvention of like the sounds of Star Wars was something that I thought I'd be like, fuck you.
Me
and they
too.
did such a good job with it that I loved it.
I mean, I do sound for a living, and Ben Burt from the originals is one of my heroes, and I'm really happy with what they did.
Yeah, I think they did obviously, I picked it. I think they did a great job. So screenplay, I got to go Ex Machina.
Oh, that's such a good one.
Yeah, I think it's the most well-written film of a very long time now, and it just did such a great job making such a very simple story into something that I am just constantly engaged in. I just want to hear everything they have to say. I want to see everything they have to do. I just want more and more and more.
Yeah.
Such a good job.
Ex Machina is high on my list. I went with kind of what I thought was had surprisingly good dialogue, and that's Ant-Man.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially for how many people threw their hat in the ring on that that screenplay. It's very impressive that they actually came out with something that worked that well, dialogue.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about that movie as a superhero action flick, but the comedy aspects of it were great.
Really good, yeah.
Since I'm a fan of this writer, I'm going with The Martian, Drew Goddard.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
His style of writing is very palatable. He has a way of taking, and he took what's essentially a ensemble space movie and turning it into finding funny moments in what could be just an overly too serious about itself drama in space. Having Donald Glover in there as like the weird space nerd trying to solve the problem. Like there's humor where it needed to be to balance out the thrilling action.
Yeah.
And he's good with his endings too. So there's a clever he cuts at the right moment. He ends the script, and his script always has a sense of fun in it.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to cinematography. And I'm not sure if either one of you saw my pick, but if you did, you'd agree with me because it is one of the most beautifully shot movies ever. And that's The Walk.
Ooh, I didn't see it.
I haven't. No.
I mean, if a Zemeckis has a movie in theaters, I'm there. Like, I don't give a shit what it's about, even if it's a horrible, for some reason, animated thing. If he's on as directing it, I'm there. I love Zemeckis.
Dead Eyes, the animation.
Oh my god, I hate those movies. But still, he made them. I went and saw them. But this movie is easily one of the best shot films ever. I've never actually gotten vertigo from a movie.
Ooh.
I'm not afraid of heights. They've never bothered me. This movie did it. And
that sounds pretty cool.
It was so fucking good, especially if you can see it in IMAX 3D, how it was meant to be seen. Easily one of the best shot films of all time.
Well, if I had seen it, I would change mine to your pick, but I'm going to go with Revenant for obvious reasons.
Yeah, and that one's probably going to win, and it totally deserves to.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to do Sicario, Roger Deakins.
No.
You just have to pick Roger Deakins.
Yeah, again, like I'm unapologetic about my fandom. For writing, it's Drew Goddard, and for camera work, it's Deakins.
Yeah, I can't argue with Deakins.
And he manages to make Understated still look really good.
Yeah,
like, and that's an understated movie in every step of the way.
I
even
fucking love that movie.
So good, and just the way he composes those shots, even. Sorry, I gotta just have a moment to myself.
All right, while you do that moment, we're gonna move on to production design. And this one was almost a tie for me, but I didn't want to give myself the out of having a tie, so I had to make a decision.
Yep.
And I went with Ex Machina.
Okay.
Because the entire building of the building they work and live in is such a mind blowing establishment that I want to be there, and I want to see it.
It defines the characters.
It really did. It was a great job. It was that, or my runner-up was Mad Max.
Mad Max is cool, but I agree with you. Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Yep. Same.
Oh, wow. We have one clear-cut winner today.
Should we look up the person's name?
I guess we could. Yeah, I have it open here because I forgot to say Alex Garland for some reason, and then as soon as I start talking Ex Machina, I always just kind of pull up the page.
I feel bad. We're actually talking about a specific part of a movie, and we don't even know the person's name who did it.
That is...
That's so Hollywood.
I know.
It's like so good. Oh, my God.
It was Mark Digby.
Cool. Mark, you did a good job.
I dig your work.
Yeah.
Mark did a great job. So best sequel and or remake.
Mad Max.
Yeah, Mad Max.
Mad Max.
Yeah. Again, this one, I mean, it's a very close runner-up for Star Wars because Star Wars did a great job, but it's...
the thing is, Star Wars did a fun job for me, but when I think about the actual category of best sequel or remake, I want to put in my head the old ones, and I want to think about who actually improved on the formula. And
Basically giving us what we didn't
Mad
know we
Max.
want. That was kind of my thing. It's like
Yeah.
giving us something that we didn't know we wanted, and Star Wars gave the fans and us everything that we wanted, which is not innovative.
Right.
See, for me, it's a close runner-up just because it's Star Wars and it gets that little bit like bump no matter what I want to think about it. It's like, oh, I love it. It's Star Wars. But no, when it comes like best of anything, like Mad Max was just everything that it needed to be and more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I didn't know I wanted this. This is awesome.
So best actress.
This is hard.
This
for
is
me.
a tough one.
This was a tough one, yeah. Go girls.
Yeah, this was a very good year for like strong, well-written female characters and like the
I'm down to Alicia Vikander for Ex Machina, Daisy Ridley for Star Wars, and Charlize Theron.
I was at all three of those, and I ended with Charlize Theron for Mad Max.
Nice.
Solid.
I mean, it was that or Alicia Vikander for me. I mean, Daisy Ridley was close, especially as like a kind of a newcomer to the scene.
That's why I want to pick her.
And she did a great job.
But
Charlize Theron with Mad Max, she made one of the greatest characters. Like, such a good job, and she owned that movie.
I'm gonna go with Alicia Vikander because I've met her in real life, and she's nothing like that character.
Alicia Vikander from Ex Machina, not one of the other millions
Was she
of
in
movies.
a million other ones?
She was
for
in
Ex Machina.
Yeah, she was in that. She was in The Danish Girl, and she was in Man from U.N.C.L.E. all last year.
Oh, okay. I didn't see those other two.
Yeah, she had a good year. She was up for a Golden Globe for Danish Girl.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Gonna go with Alicia Vikander.
yeah.
Because playing a robot and actually putting something like making it the character compelling is hard to do.
Yeah.
Like
She's like the best bad robot since Hal.
Yeah, and she did such a good job of making you feel like Domhnall Gleeson of like I love her.
Oh, yeah.
She's great, but holy fuck is she dangerous.
Yep.
Getting us right into his point of view was really important, and she nailed it.
Yeah.
And I heard the story of how she auditioned for that movie. Was she actually was on something else, probably Man from U.N.C.L.E., and she like either paid them or bought the crew all beers afterwards to stay after their 12-hour day to make her audition tape for Ex Machina.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
nice.
I'm really excited to see what we get from her in the
Me
upcoming like
too.
years.
I
She's
don't
like
know.
one of those like actresses to watch right now.
Oh, absolutely. And I hope Daisy Ridley gets to leave the Marvel compound.
Yeah.
or the Disney compound, I mean. But they might have her trapped for the next 10 years. We'll see.
Yeah, it's like her and it's now I'm blanking on her name. The girl who's in Rogue One.
Oh, yeah. I don't know her name either, but she looks like she's going to be a big breakout. I think that movie is going to do way better than we all expected.
Felicity Jones.
Felicity Jones.
Yes,
Yeah.
from last year's the Stephen Hawkins movie.
Right.
She's phenomenal. It's like her, Alicia Vikander, Daisy Ridley. Like it's a great time for to watch like female actors right now. Like they're doing some amazing things. I'm very like I'm obviously a feminist. I totally believe in that, and like it's really exciting to see like these really good, well written roles going to women right now, and it's awesome, and they're doing a great job as well. They of course would.
Yeah. Hopefully this is the year where it's not a weird thing to see a woman's name first on the bill.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
It's like
and
what?
It's definitely moving that way.
Mad Max was a terrible a perpetrator of like putting Tom Hardy's name on first when really Charlize was the hero of the
and
movie.
I feel like everyone involved in the movie knew that, and everybody involved in the marketing just didn't understand.
And same with Star Wars, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Star Wars is the biggest problem of that one, but that's a whole different podcast.
We don't want to spoil that she's in the movie. She's in the movie.
Yeah. All right, so best actor. This one was very, very close for me, like very close, and I went for the one that I think is, for me, ekes out a little bit more, and my other one was very obscure. So I was going to go for Domhnall Gleeson in Ex Machina because he was such an amazing job in that thing, and I think much like Alicia Vikander's an actress to watch, he's an actor to watch.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I got to go with my boy Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant. He did such a good job. Such a good job.
He wins something now.
I don't know.
I loved him.
I think he's done better.
I
he did a good job in The Revenant, but I'm not on that camp.
Oh, I think he was so good in that movie. Like he kept the whole movie going. Like both him and Tom Hardy were just so fucking good in that movie.
Yeah, they're both going to have great years. I'm going to go with Oscar Isaac, though, for Ex Machina. I liked him a little better than Domhnall Gleeson, and especially seeing them both appear in Star Wars later.
As completely different characters. Oh, they're so talented.
Yep.
So talented.
But Oscar Isaac, man, he creeped me out that entire film.
There was something about him that just didn't quite feel right, and it was an intangible thing, and that's also hard to pull off. So I'm going to go with Oscar Isaac, too.
Yeah.
Just because, wow. Compelled by someone and yet scared by them so much.
Yep.
And that even trickles down into the robot he made. Like, how do you do that? That's crazy.
So best director, I had written down an answer here that I'm going to say it's not my choice though, because the more I'm thinking about it, I need to stick with my gut. So the one that I immediately thought of when I think of the best director of the year is the one who made the movie that just like blew me out of the water, which was George Miller with Mad Max. He did a great job coming back to his franchise, did an amazing job with it, but when it comes down to it, Alex Garland for Ex Machina made the best movie of the year. And he did such an amazing job.
And they're good for different reasons. Fury Road is good for the world building, for the themes and the elements, the flaming guitar player, the cars. But if you want to talk about actually getting down with 3 actors and getting the best performance you can out of that, Alex Garland for Ex Machina.
And it speaks volumes, because I'm not sure if you saw Man from U.N.C.L.E., and it's nothing against Alicia Vikander, but she did a fine job in Man from U.N.C.L.E., and she just kind of looks like the hot girl in that movie, and she does okay. And then you watch her with like a talented director, and it's like, she's one of the best actresses working today. Like holy shit! Like he pulled a performance out of out of all 3 of them, that was like the best of their career. Like I can't obviously say that because who knows what they're gonna do from here on out. But like
so far, it is.
It is amazing, and that's
say it, and then that challenges them to prove you wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And like it's like you saw Inside Llewyn Davis with Oscar Isaac, and it's like, well, this guy is the best actor ever. And then you see him in this, it's like, holy fuck, he can do everything.
Yeah.
Except be like the weird buddy to Finn for some reason.
Yeah, that's awkward. But
I too was kind of waffling between George Miller and Alex Garland for Ex Machina, and I think the only reason I'm going to stay with Mad Max is because of fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
This guy knows how to make fun in a way that isn't taking it like he doesn't take himself too seriously, and too many action movies and people take themselves seriously.
I would argue the exact opposite. He takes it very seriously. He takes the entire world of Mad Max super serious, and it's the seriousness that he brings to it that just kind of allows it to be fun.
Yeah,
but I know what you mean too. He doesn't like hold it like he doesn't worry about continuity through his world. He doesn't hold it to all these high stakes.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
he's got kind of a very kind of, I don't want to say punk aesthetic to it, but he kind of does that where it's just like, there are established ways of doing it, and I'm just going to do it my way.
Fair enough.
So I mean, he's very in your face in a way that I kind of like.
I mean, you could say he doesn't take his world seriously, but then you've got a guy in pajamas playing a flamethrower guitar.
That's true.
And I mean, you've got like that's him.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's his doing.
It's his aesthetic, and it's beautiful.
All right, so best film of the year. I mean, I think my pick's kind of obvious the way that most of my
isn't it? I feel like we all know.
Yeah,
it's me and you.
Yeah, it's Ex Machina.
Are gonna pick Ex Machina.
It's so fucking good. Like it is one of the few movies. Like I say this every year whenever doing like my best of list. Like I do it if you ever go to our row 3, like our host domain, and you see it. I'll always put my number 1. It's the one movie out of the year that I will watch as many times as possible. And last year it was Babadook, which I've watched.
Oh wow!
I can't even tell you how many times.
I was gonna say Whiplash, but
Whiplash is so. We still need to throw that on our calendar. I need to talk about Whiplash, but I love the fuck out of Babadook, and I've watched it so many times. And this year it's the exact same thing with Ex Machina. Awesome. I've already seen the movie. I don't know how many times since I bought it on Blu-ray. It's so fucking good.
It's really good, and it makes me think even this many months down the road. Like we're talking about Mad Max, and I go, oh, that was fun. And then we talk about Ex Machina, and I get creeped out.
Yeah, and like, I don't remember when that movie came out. It was a long time ago though. It was like
middle of last year.
It was early last year, wasn't it?
Maybe.
And I agree.
Doesn't matter.
No. And whereas Mad Max,
check yourselves.
Whereas the Mad Max is the fun one. I think if we were to split the best into fun and the most important, Ex Machina wins for most important. And Mad Max is the most fun that I've ever had in a movie,
hands down.
And just Ex Machina there's a lot of thinking, and I love it. It makes you. It brings up a lot of challenging issues, and there's so many elements that talk to the theme. In that movie, there's not a throwaway element in Ex Machina at all.
So you're with Ex Machina?
Ex Machina, yeah, for sure. It has that edge because at the end of the day, we'll always talk about and debate and discuss the parts of Ex Machina.
Right.
And then Mad Max will just end with it was being very fun. It was very fun, and the conversation will end for Mad Max, and probably not for Ex Machina.
Yeah. So unanimous.
Yeah. Wow. So we have one. I think this is the first time it's ever happened in a best of episode where we actually all agree on the best movie of the year. But I mean, fuck, it was.
It's pretty clear.
Yeah. I think. I mean, I'm sad that not everybody in the world agrees. It wasn't even nominated for Best Picture, but for me, it's obvious. All right. So with that, we're gonna do one more thing, which is we're gonna go around the table here, all 3 of us, and we're gonna say the one pick a category out of thin air, if you will. And just say your favorite thing from 2015 that we didn't really touch on in here. Who wants to go first?
I was going to say we didn't really talk about music, and we talked a lot about talking about music. Because Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly was the best album. But I'm going to say the best thing of all time to happen in 2015 is Donald Trump. For all of the obvious reasons. He has been my source of entertainment for the past year, and he's never going to stop.
I really hope he does stop. If he
He's not
doesn't-
going to stop entertaining. He's going to
That's
stop
true.
running for president at some point.
I
but-
really hope so. It's going to be a very sad, sad America. Mine, I'm going to go with music. I'm going to go with the little itty bitty band from New York, Too Many Zoos. I've mentioned them on a podcast a long time ago. They have a Kickstarter going right now that I hope works for them. Probably isn't going to. They're not getting that much backing. But they released an album in 2015 called Brass House Volume 1. And you can get it on Bandcamp for I think like $4, but it is a party in your car as you drive around. It's just a fucking awesome album. They do such a good job, and they're just such a fun energy. Like it just feels like a group of kids playing, which is really what it is. And they're just amazing. Really, really fun band. I highly recommend them.
The best thing. It was a lot of good things, but I don't know about best. I would say, and it's a category we already touched on, and I didn't have a place to put it in the best of, but I finished Child of Light.
Okay.
And what an interesting game. Maybe not mechanically. It's just your standard turn-based.
It's a beautiful game.
It's a beautiful game, and that's what is still sticking with me today. Like the soundtrack is amazing.
Yeah.
I listen to it a lot just because it's so beautiful, and then the art style is so beautiful. And I actually when I first started the game, I didn't like the rhyming. In like everything rhymes, all the dialogue rhymes. And narration, I thought it was like, this is kind of dumb, but by the end, it was like I'm kind of welling up with emotion here at the ending, like turning into a little wimpy guy.
That's awesome.
But it's so beautiful, and it's such a beautiful experience, and I didn't realize that you could do that in a video game.
All right. So with that, we're gonna bring 2015 officially to a close.
A month later.
A month later, why not?
Yeah.
And then so let's talk. I'm going to talk really briefly about what we have coming up. We're going to kind of start changing the format a little bit. Not entirely. We're not going to call attention to it too much other than me telling you right now.
Too late.
But we're basically going to try to start doing battles once a month and versus once a month, which we're going to do our first versus here, not next week, the week after that, with Jurassic Park versus Jurassic World.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
And I'm really looking forward to that. We're kind of working out the format right now, which is partially why we're giving it a little bit more time. But next week we're going to do our throwbacks episode, which is after the hype, but severely after the hype.
Way after the hype.
So we're starting with the 90s, and we're going to the biggest movie ever from the 90s, which is Titanic. So we're having a first-time guest on for that one. It should be a lot of fun. And then we're having an old friend guest who has not been on in a long time for that. And then the other one that we're doing that next month is going to be to celebrate its 30th birthday. Much like I'll be celebrating my 30th birthday soon, we're doing Pretty in Pink.
Oh, nice.
Which celebrates its 30th birthday, I believe, in February or March. But yeah, so we're going to talk about that one. And then we have, we're doing a TV episode, another battle. We have a whole bunch of stuff coming up on the plate that's really excited. And I'm really excited, looking forward to how we're not changing things, but kind of evolving a little bit.
Yes.
We're moving
And
forward.
Yeah.
super thanks to Sheldon and Kirk from Deus Ex Comica for coming on. Jeff from being my friend for coming on. Nick from formerly After the Hype for being on.
HADUKEN from HOBOKEN.
Yep.
Basically laying the foundation with you for this podcast.
Yeah.
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 And we want to have all those guys on again, either in a call-in or in person.
Absolutely. So thanks to all of them, and thanks to everyone for listening. And with that, bye.